Radio, V81 Radio.
Our Almighty God, Creator of heaven and earth, Father and lover of our soul, you sit on your throne of mercy and rule with your love and faithfulness. You are full of grace. We acknowledge your presence in our lives. Nothing is hidden in your eyes, even our challenges and struggles in life. We come to you with faith. We ask not only for our daily spiritual bread, but to seek your forgiveness and undeserving favor to heal our land, our family members, our friends and neighbors, even our enemies with COVID-19 and other diseases. Holy Spirit, help us to deepen our faith and see the opportunity to believe, obey, and worship. As we face this pandemic, you are Lord and God. Encourage us and change our hearts, not to fear, but to be full of hope and find ourselves praying and meditating your word. We believe no works of the enemy prosper to your children. Abba, Father, we believe that your Son Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. He is the truth and our salvation. Hear our prayers, O Lord, and most of all, not our will, but thy will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name, the name above all names, who was and is to come. Amen.
Reaching out to Filipinos worldwide, the now of digital entertainment with studios in Manila, Bacolod, Hong Kong, and Los Angeles, California. This is V81 Radio, Los Angeles.
V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program anchors and producers and do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of this station. Pag 7 p.m. na, dapat naka-V81 na. Catch these programs at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Talk Shop Asia Global, USA Edition with Rolly Pagaspas and Rosario Cajucom Bradbury. Home Not Alone, Songs from Home with Papa Gio. It's all about entrepreneurship and entertainment. Back-to-back programs at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, LA at 7. Exclusively on V81 Radio, Los Angeles. The program that puts together industry and business leaders, their organization, company, and brands in an optimal showcase of information for business impact and exchange. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, the scalable business exchange program and platform. Hosted by global business leader Rosario Cajucom Bradbury, live in Southern California, together with the founding anchor, business and transformation mentor Rolly Pagaspas, live in the Philippines. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, only here on V81 Radio Worldwide.
Welcome to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, and it's season 2. And this month is Women History Month. You see, since the first day of March, we've been bringing to you various episodes about women's history. We had the episode about the Z is the future, which is the Z generation, and they told us what is their plans and how they're going to make the world even better for the next generations to come. We even had the show about Filipinas thriving around the world. We had a Filipino woman from Australia, from the United States, from Switzerland, from Egypt, and from Tanzania, and from the Middle East. So 6 women brought to you, giving to you their experience on how they have thrived around the world and make a success not only of their name as a woman, but bringing our country to the helm of what is the potentials of what we can contribute to the world economy. And we also brought to you women in the board, because one of the main issues in corporate world now is bringing a lot of women in the boardroom. It is very measurable what women in the boardroom can contribute to the economy, to the company, and to the economy that they operate. And this was presented to you by Irene Natividad, the chairman and CEO of the Globe Women, or the Global Summit of Women. So all of this has been happening throughout the month of March, and I hope that you have been enjoying every episode that we bring to you. But this time and today, we bring to you women in innovative technology. We will have 2 powerful guests who are at the very top of leading in using technological advancements, providing homes, not just homes for one person, but for all people in 7,100 islands of the Philippines. That is the vision. And bringing the best technology coming from Europe and other parts of the world of a home that is matatag, as they call it, lasting for over 100 years with solar-powered home as well. And of course, a woman who is the very first robotic surgeon in the Philippines, who has performed the Da Vinci Code system of surgical, which is what they call the robotic surgeon operation. She is one of the prime doctors in the Philippines that is giving a lot of hope for a lot of the Filipino women in a lot of their health care, that it is a non-invasive surgery with a lot of precision, and the healing process is much faster. But before I get too excited, I'd like to bring to you my co-host, Professor Mark Nguyen from California.
Hi, Rosario. Hi, everyone. Always great to be here and to celebrate Women's History Month around the world. So very excited to hear from these very innovative women today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got 2 powerful women, but even though that they are that powerful and influential, humility really is something very admirable about them. Mark, I know you just came from your class. What class do you teach?
Yeah, I just came from 2 of my classes today. In fact, they're going into spring break next week. And so I think they're very excited to have a break soon. But I was just teaching my Law for Global Business class, and we are looking at issues about trade, and women in trade was a topic, because one of the history-making moments this month of March was Dr. Ngozi from Nigeria became the first head of the WTO, the first Director General of the World Trade Organization. So she just started, and I'm sure she's going to bring some of her priorities about supporting women in trade, because a lot of women are very essential to global trade and lots of industries around the world.
Mark, what is one of the things that is, I think, not yet institutionalized globally, is really bringing a lot of women on the boardroom.
Yeah.
And there is always an issue, is that, are you just going to increase women in the boardroom just for the sake of a quota number?
Mhm.
People, there's a lot of talk is that quota is the first step, but obviously the next is, are they qualified? You have to put qualifications. It's not just challenging the women to be qualified in the board, but it is putting transparency that there are qualifications criteria to be in the board, whether you're a man, a woman, or whatever spectrum of gender you may be. Criteria is the name of the game. It's not just the number. But obviously, for some countries like Malaysia, they started with a quota. And after that is what are the performance measure that's to show what has been the contribution of each of the board member. What do you think of that? Do you really think there should be more women in the board?
Yeah. In fact, I had a conversation recently on a call with the 41st woman CEO of the Fortune 500. Her name is Lauren Hobart. She's this incoming CEO this month of Dick's Sporting Goods, which is a family-run operation that expanded and has over 700 retail locations in the country. But 41 women out of 500, it's still less than 10% of female CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies in the US. And if you look further into how many women are board members, it probably would be around the same amount, I think, maybe 10%, which, as you say, it's like, how do we address this deficiency that women represent maybe less than 10% of corporate leadership as CEOs or members of the board? Does it require a quota to carve out allocations, or does it mean that, a mindset, criteria, selection criteria, and others should be adjusted so more women and more people of color and more diversity is represented in corporate leadership? I think at the end of the day, it's probably a combination of both. The sort of kind of more criteria, perhaps on a legal side, that there should be more representation. But also, with the free market principles in the US and other countries, it would be harder to do to require members of the board be a certain number of women or others to be more representative. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to have to be driven by the corporations and the mindset of people who make those decisions, who invite members of the board.
You see, what other countries have done is putting it in the in the security exchange.
Mhm.
That has been the formula that was done in Malaysia. So
Okay.
it is like making sure that before you establish your companies, there is a number of percentage of this representation. So it is more attack on the inclusivity, obviously, and then that's when it is, and then measurements are done. And then by doing that, they've seen that having a policy by the Security Exchange, it really makes sense, and they see the benefit of it.
Mhm.
Ah,
Yeah,
you see,
yeah. I think that can be done. I know there's talk in California to put the requirements as part of the incorporation documents. So if you
Correct.
set up a company, you file to the Secretary of State and you send your articles of incorporation as well as your tax payments and so on. So in those documents, you could put in criteria that it's recommended, suggested, or even required that boards have diversity or respect diversity, whether it's gender, race, or other types of diversity. So there could be more of those requirements as part of incorporating a company, starting a company, or as part of the corporate governance of a company.
Yes.
Which
Exactly.
is, where they report to, if you're a private company versus a public company, there's different requirements for reporting, and there's
Well,
different standards. Mhm.
these are being reported by most companies. Really, it's part of their corporate sustainability.
Mhm.
It's the diversity, they're giving back to the community, and how you make use of the environment. Being environmentally friendly. So one of our guests today is really on the environmental friendly homes, solar homes,
Great.
and this is something really great. It's part of the pillars of the sustainability pillars, and
Yeah.
and the technology, and with the pandemic that is happening, the digital economy and the digital transformation has become really like a second word already for everybody. If you're not in the digital space, you're not going to survive. But before we get too excited, we're going to show the photos of two of our guests. Do you know that this is the 6th-year anniversary of Talk Shop Asia, which is the father company of Talk Shop Asia Global USA? And I wonder if our founder, because I know our founder, Rolly Pagaspas, is at least going to drop by and be with us during the discussion and to say hello. Do we have Rolly already, Miguel? Okay. So if he's here with us, let's bring him in. Okay, so unfortunately, he's not in. So I couldn't say that he was caught in a traffic because you don't drive anymore to the studio. It is now the digital traffic. But anyways, I'm very excited. It's Women's History Month. Despite of what's happening in the United States, I'm sorry to say this, with Asia, with a hate crime on Asia, I mean, it breaks my heart. But for now, let us celebrate the Women's History Month and remember that the diversity, it's not just the Asian women, all colors, all gender of spectrum and so forth. And I'd like to show to you our very first guest. I'll have Miguel show the photo. Our first guest is Dr. Jennifer Marie Jose. She is a robotics gynecologic surgeon. She's the very first Filipino surgeon who has performed 500 robotics assisted surgeries assisted by the robotics. So she is being on the list bestowed, Dr. Jose, the honor of being one of the robotic surgeons all over the world recognized by the Intuitive Surgical Incorporated for their proficiency in robotics surgery. So you see, she earned the distinction of being the first Filipino doctor to make it to the surgeon's locator list of Intuitive Surgical Incorporated, the maker of the Da Vinci surgical system, where she maintains her status up to now at present. And she teaches all of the surgeons in Asia, by the way. So what do you think of that, Mark? Robotics. Have you had this surgery using robotics?
I haven't, but it sounds like it would be a lot more precise, and innovative, because I'm sure with robotic technology, you can certainly do a lot more in terms of the types of surgeries and probably help the recovery process. So I'm very impressive to hear from the doctor and to kind of see what extent robotics is involved in that process.
Well, she does a lot of the robotic surgery for various types, but today we would focus on women's care. So a lot of women watching us today, so do tune in up to the last, because you're going to hear the benefits of using a surgery. The common surgery for women is the hysterectomy, and even for cancer patients, these are very favorable to heal much faster and things like that, the success rate of that. And the digital transformation is really in the facet of the big data, the robotics, and the artificial intelligence. So those three are the major player in the digital world that we are welcoming, and it's transforming. And the pandemic has accelerated this. Fortunately, that's the best thing that it has brought, And our other guest, who is the champion of development of a property technology development home, is Emma Imperial. We'll show her photo here. She is the chair and CEO of the Imperial Homes Corporation, an Imperial group of companies. And she is the president and CEO for over 4 decades already. And she is the founder of the Property Technology Developer. The company has successfully built more than 20,000 houses since the company started in 1983, which about 2,000 units are powered by solar solutions. So this is the perfect home to really buy now, Mark. Electricity, energy is becoming so expensive. Doing business just with electricity is not sustainable, I'll be very honest with you, Mark. People who are investing in the Philippines, we have the economic zones. And for 5 years at least, they would have some tax incentive, tax regime, and a lower rate for energy utilities. But after 5 years, it's no more. Then they're hit with the real high utility energy charges. So it's very important. Every country should really go to renewable energy,
Oh.
alternative energy, and all so forth and so on. Yesterday, I attended the Department of Trade and Industry Board of Investment, Make It Happen in the Philippines. So they were promoting a lot of this technological advancement of manufacturing. Solar panels are have already started and is already, and more are coming, being manufactured in the Philippines. European manufacturers going to the Philippines to do it there. So I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, especially solar panels. Most of the production, about 90%, is from China. But China's been subject to anti-dumping, which are punitive duties of about 30% in the US. So because of that, I think there's been a shift in production to other countries. So that makes sense that there's more production in the Philippines. So one, there must be a lot of demand in the Philippines, given what Emma's company is doing with solar houses and incorporating renewable energy. But two, there's a huge global demand that's only getting bigger. So I think that's a very promising industry if the Philippines is producing more solar panels.
That's true. And what she's offering is it is an affordable, very affordable solar homes for a lot of Filipinos. We have so many overseas Filipino workers. Just in America, Filipino migrants here is about 5 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Could you imagine that 5 million will buy each of them a solar home in the Philippines? And because at the end of the day, we want to go back to the Philippines and retire there. We don't want to go in the winter. You're Vietnamese. You may want to go
It's
back.
nice. It's nice and warmer.
Exactly. Well, anyways, so our episode today is really about Women's History Month, and we've built up the guesting, and today is the climax of our guesting because it is women in technology and innovation. So please don't go away because we'll be right back with our first guest with Emma Imperial. Don't go away, Mark.
All right. See you soon.
We'll be back shortly. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio Worldwide. Isang masayang April na naman ang inyong aabangan sa Home Not Alone Season 3 kasama si Papa Gio, Karen Sita, Kelvin Miranda, and Mikey Quintos, Sams David, P6, and Curay. Kaya mag-ready na sa all-out na kwentuhan, kulitan at kantahan this April sa Home Not Alone Season 3 kasama si Papa Gio. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. California time o Thursdays, 10 a.m. Philippine time. Dito lang yan syempre sa V81 Radio, Los Angeles.
Every year, we experience extreme weather conditions and destruction of our natural resources that gravely affect our daily lives. This is climate change. It's time we do something about it and switch to cleaner sources. We are Imperial Homes Corporation, the Philippines' first property technology developer. We build communities that mitigate climate change and where each house reduce 45 tons of CO2 emissions through our Connovate's high-performance concrete panels and solar solutions, which is equivalent to planting 1,700 trees. Imperial Homes Corporation, the company that builds sustainable and resilient homes that last a lifetime.
Hi, this is Rosemary Chan. You can listen to my songs by downloading the V81 Radio mobile app. Free now, free forever. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal na
Radio.
Now back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio Worldwide.
Welcome back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. It is 7:20 in the evening here in California. And magandang umaga sa lahat ng ating kababayan sa Pilipinas. And of course, early morning in Middle East and in Europe, I think they're still sleeping, but they'll be able to watch this in some of the replays or link to the YouTube. Today, as we said, is the episode of the celebration of Women's History Month. And our focus today is women in technology. And today, our guest is a very dear friend of mine, but most of all, a woman who is very successful in everything that she does. Everything that she touches becomes gold. Gold, it means very successful. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to let you know that our guest is Miss Emma Imperial, who has been the leading Imperial Homes Corporation. She is the president and the CEO for about 4 decades. She's the chair and CEO of Imperial Homes Corporations, an Imperial group of companies. Imperial Homes is the Philippines' first and only property technology PropTech developer. If there is fintech, there is PropTech, the property technology developer in real estate. The company has successfully built more than 20,000 houses since the company started in 1983, of which 2,000 units are powered by solar solution. You see, she has various companies under her umbrella, like Miguel. Just like last year, Conovate Denmark has officially welcomed Imperial Homes as one of its shareholders, making Imperial Homes a global firm. So Imperial Homes Corporation is wholly owned by its founder, Emma Imperial, who is our guest today. She has 3 subsidiaries which work together in providing affordable housing developments, green concrete production, and solar homes. So she also serves as the chairperson of the Infinity Imperial Solar Solutions Incorporated, or EISSI, the solar developer arm of the group, and the chairperson and president of Conovate Philippines Incorporated, the manufacturer of the high-performance concrete panels. She recently founded the PropTech Consortium of the Philippines, the one I was mentioning earlier. It is a non-profit organization that aims to drive the next wave of innovation for the Philippines real estate. She is joined by the powerhouse technology as well as that of the government multi-sectoral partners like International Finance Corporation of the World Bank Group and the Philippine Solar and Storage Energy Alliance, PSSEA. Before I bring to you the powerful lady behind the property technology development in the real estate in the Philippines, bringing to you solar homes, affordable homes that will last 100 years. Let's watch the video of what they can do.
Every year, we experience extreme weather conditions and destruction of our natural resources that gravely affect our daily lives. This is climate change. It's time we do something about it and switch to cleaner sources. We are Imperial Homes Corporation, the Philippines' first property technology developer. We build communities that mitigate climate change and where each house reduce 45 tons of CO2 emissions through our Conovate's high-performance concrete panels and solar solutions, which is equivalent to planting 1,700 trees. Imperial Homes Corporation, the company that builds sustainable and resilient homes that last a lifetime.
Ladies and gentlemen, the unstoppable woman and one of the most awarded women leaders and sustainability champions in Asia, Miss Emma Imperial.
Hey, Rosario. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me here. I mean, the introduction is way too much for me. I just, as a woman leader, I just keep on working. So thank you.
Well, you're not just working for yourself, Emma, you're working for our country and the countrymen. And I think that's what makes you very unique, putting people in the center beyond yourself. But first of all, who is Emma Imperial? Of course, I know you, Emma. We are the Mink ladies. We are a group of ladies that have fun aside from doing business. But how did you start? I want the audience to understand that to come to the success path that you are, what has been your journey being an entrepreneur? Have you been an entrepreneur all your life? And what has been your background? Why the real estate development industry?
I think my father, who was an entrepreneur, he was a poor man from Samar. He came and built his business and became a millionaire at the time. I think I got my genes from him. And also his legacy on how he conducts his business. He was always telling me that his legacy for his family is that he worked hard for all the things that we were enjoying. So he did not steal his money. So that was the start. But at early part of my life, at 8 years old, I was already selling roses and I was getting candies and selling them to my classmates. And I continued doing that even when I was in high school. I would buy jewelries from Bulacan and I would resell them. College, I was selling secondhand typewriters and on and on and on. And so that has been an early part of my career. I was just trying to sell things. And when I went to Bicol and married my late husband, I started businesses that is not there. So I just like to do things that are not around. So it was my first Montessori, which is not in Bicolandia. I also had my first poultry farm because the Bicol businesses were importing their chicken from Manila, from Magnolia at the time. So I made my first poultry in Albay. And then the rest is I wanted to make a BF Homes type of houses, but also made the first public school teachers housing in Legazpi City. So I'd like to do first. So it's like, even in the earlier part, I could have come earlier. I would have come earlier to Manila and really started like at the same time that the Villar Group did. But it was not really my vision to really have a lot of this money coming in. It was at the earlier part, my vision at that time was to get into the farthest municipalities in the Bicol region. So at an early part in 83, 86, we were able to saturate as far as Virac Catanduanes. And at that time, there was no developer who was going in there because all the provinces were saturated by my company. I was making the, affordable housing in all those areas because I wanted that to be available in the farthest areas in the region. So I always have this kind of purpose for what I do. And I think the journey right now, when I started this innovation about the solar and the green building technology, came from that. And my quest for solar is that I was always traveling to Europe. And in Europe, you could see, especially in Denmark. Denmark's the greenest country in the world, and you could see a lot of houses using solar, and they also use a lot of windmills. So they're so renewable. And I was telling myself, why can't we have solar in the Philippines when the sun is, all year round? And these other countries, they only have sun a few months in a year, and yet they're using it. So that was my start with looking for partners for solar. And I first ventured in small solar, and then I got into partnership with a huge solar developer in the world. And so that's how it started with Infinity. And then, of course, there's a next of making the houses innovative and making them green. So as early as 2014, I was thinking about this, and I think IFC and World Bank was part of my journey, because when they learned that a low cost or affordable housing is being made into a renewable community, that was the first. And then that time they asked me to speak in World Bank IFC convention in Washington D.C. And after that we got an award with a Financial Times and IFC Transformational Award for low carbon category. So my life really changed because of that innovation of bringing a very expensive, supposed to be solar for the rich to the low income market. So right now, I'm happy to say that it's all available for all our Filipinos and especially the overseas workers. We've built about 2,000 homes with the solar solution. So we're very good in this already. So that's the journey.
Well, you see, really, since a young kid, you are very entrepreneurial already, and your father being an influencer to you on doing business very efficiently and looking far ahead. I must say, you are very visionary to be wanting always to be first. And I think one of the ingredients you've done here is a collaboration with the supply of the best technology to bring it to the Filipinos. So I understand that Imperial Homes is a house or an umbrella for various companies, and you've got various companies. You've got the Imperial Homes Corporation. You've got the Infinity Imperial Homes, correct? You've got the Premier Fiesta Land. How are they correlated, and how are they been contributing to your mission of bringing affordable solar homes and matatag homes for all of the Filipinos?
Well, the story of the solar, when I partner with Gino, he's a Belgian. They built farms, so these are megawatt projects. And when I was convincing him that if you build millions of homes with solar, it's like making a solar farm without putting it on a farm. Instead, you put it on the roof. And he saw immediately the correlation and the business sense of that. And he said, okay, Emma, let's put up a joint venture partnership. And it really clicked. Well, the first time we launched it, that buyers were very excited about it. But the scalability of making it into a megawatt, which are the solar farms. When you make solar farms, you have megawatt all the time, like 5 megawatt, 6 megawatt. So the scalability could not be done through the usual building method that we have, which is the hollow blocks. And so my partner would say, Emma, where's the megawatt construction? Where's the megawatt houses? And I was always frustrated that we could not build as fast as we put the solar solution on top of the houses. So it was a big challenge to me on how these two can really be complementary to each other. So I need a technology that can be built, as fast, if not as fast, is nearly as faster as the solar installation, right?
Yeah.
And this is what happened. I got in partnership with this very innovative technology in Denmark. But this technology was actually being done for high-end buildings in Denmark. Denmark does not have low-cost houses or affordable housing. They always have, middle income, higher income housing. And so what I did, I tried to innovate with their team, made an R&D. It took us 2 years to do this. It also took me almost more than a year to do the solar R&D.
I
So
see. I'm
yeah,
seeing here is what the solar homes that you are building in the
this is
Philippines,
portrait
right?
too. We're using these houses now are the Danish homes. So you can see they're very clean and they're very fastly built. One of these houses can be put up in, I mean, the panels can be put up in 4 hours. So you see the dream that I had, that you can speed it up and scale it up so that you can put the solar faster, is now becoming into reality. So, and what happens now, if you combine the two houses, I mean, the two innovations, which is the solar and then the Conovate technology, you're going to have a bigger impact on the reduction of CO2 emission. And the impact is reduce 45 tons of CO2 per house. And then, okay, so these are photos of the Conovate panels that we have. Earlier on, they showed you a photo of the edge certification. This is very important for our buyers because it is like being giving the buyers that are buying houses or condominium from us an ISO certification. It's like, the houses that you are getting has the stamp of IFC World Bank for energy efficiency. And when we did the EDGE certification from IFC World Bank, it has become when we started, it was only IFC EDGE certification, but then when we put the Conovate, they upgraded it to advanced EDGE certification. Why? Because not only do we save electricity, but we are now addressing resiliency. As you know, Philippines is now, we have more frequent typhoons, disaster, earthquake, whatever, name it, Taal volcano eruptions. So with the technology, it is 14,000 psi. PSI. It's really how to measure the strength, and a usual hollow blocks is only about 700 psi, whereas our panels is 14,000 psi. That's why we can, we always tell the people this has certification that it can last 100 years. It's very strong with typhoon, and it also prevents molds and viruses. So medyo all the people that are buying here will be protected from viruses. It's very, very relevant to the pandemic now. We didn't even foresee this, but this is why the houses are very much in demand. The condominium is very much in demand. And guess what? During the pandemic, we had 52% growth in reservation sales, which is fantastic because the buyers started to really differentiate the houses that we are selling to them, and that they are beginning to understand that they have options to improve their living standards by just choosing the right homes that is available in the market. So this is really something for the overseas workers, that you continue to work, but you need to save some of your hard-earned money for your future by investing something that will give you more value in the future. So for instance, if you get an ordinary hollow block home, you, after 30 years, let's say you're talking of a 36 square meter house and a 40 square meter lot. After 30 years, this home will just be the value of the lot, which is about $1 million or 1.2 million. We made this computation with our auditors. And if you take the Conovate home, which lasts 100 years, after 30 years, the value of the home is about 7.2 million. And it goes on. I mean, I cannot give you the amount after 100 years, because you might not believe it. But it will reach nearly 100 million for the value of the home, because you didn't have to rebuild the house, and the lot continues to grow in value, and then no repair, no maintenance. So this is really something that is very innovative and is now in the market.
You see, you did not only focus on one innovation or technology, but you combine both, which is the solar homes and the lasting build of the foundation of the house. And that's incredible. I think what is good here is you're like a concert or an orchestra professor, that orchestrate this all. And I think, as you said, to align them on the supply and demand is another interesting way of your being business astute. I just have one question: is I hear you, what you say, you're so convincing. That's why I'm not surprised that these foreign investors have partnered with you, because they've seen the visionary of Emma Imperial. But I've worked with an SGS, which is an inspection testing company, and for you to say and claim it would last for 100 years, I would like the people to see that you have tested this, that really would last for 100 years. So, Miguel, I'd like you to show that the hollow blocks being compared to the foundation that is done by Innovate. Can we show that, Miguel? And then there's the video about that. Go ahead, Miguel. That is that's an incredible video, Emma, because you know what caught my eye there immediately? It says less bacteria. As you said, with the pandemic situation now, we are very concerned on the houses housing bacteria, because they say it's more dangerous being inside the house sometimes, because it's not really flowing the air properly. And with your 14,000 psi with the less bacteria built of Connovate, built only in 2 days versus 40 days, and by only 4 people versus 10 people. That is magnificent. 40 days versus 2 days. So is this a prefabricated already then?
Yeah, well, the panels come from the factory, and we're just talking of the installation of the panel, as you can see, and you compare a similar construction method that they put the hollow blocks one on top of each other, right? So you need 10 people to do that versus 2 people that will install the house in 2 days and complete all the joints and all that, compared to 40 days where you have all of these people that starts plastering and doing all that kind of stuff. So it's really the new the future now. I mean, when we bring the panels into the construction site, you don't have to put the electricity, the electricity wires or the water pipes inside. Everything is embedded before it's delivered to the site. So there's nothing that you have to do anymore when you get there. That's why it's very good for social distancing during the pandemic. And you don't need a lot of people to be in the construction area in order for you to continue the construction of your businesses. And by the way, when we talk about the bacteria, prevention of bacteria, this did not come just from thin air. The reason why the panels, the green building material is like that, it's because that the strength during the test it has zero permeability, which means if you have a piece of glass, a glass, there's no water that can go in. And you see a lot of the regular hollow blocks in the area. You go inside the house. I mean, even my house, it's made. It's not. I mean, this is an old house. You can see some kind of water spots or dark spots somewhere when it rains, when there's typhoon and all that. That's because the hollow blocks are very porous. So when the water hits the hollow block wall, then the water penetrates, and then it becomes mold inside. And molds is the source of sickness. It's a very strong bacteria that goes inside your lungs. So your immune system gets compromised when you have a house like this. So because of the molds free, and all our tests comes from Europe, and European tests are one of the most what do you call it? Recognized, respected certifications in the world, and so the molds free. It was already there when I started it. It just became very, very relevant during pandemic, and I didn't really expect the pandemic. I just said, "Oh my God!" The energy of the world is just coming to my innovation, because when you start making innovation, you really gamble. You don't know what's going to happen to your innovation. Just like the solar, a lot of doomsayer already told me, "Emma, you're wasting your time. Solar is so expensive. Why are you putting it in small houses? Why are you putting it in the affordable housing market, or the low, the mid, and all of that? And you're just gonna fail." Yeah. And I just continued with my idea, because there's probably two things that I was thinking about. Something becomes successful when there's nobody doing it, and there's abundance of resources that is available, and people needs it. So there's three things that I follow and start thinking of innovation, and that's solar. Electricity in the Philippines is the most expensive in Asia, and then we have abundance of sun. And my goodness, people do not have to suffer when there's availability of these resources. So I continued, and guess what? The doomsayers was just doomsayers. And from then on, because of the IFC and World Bank, very supportive, and I also they were getting a lot of research data from me, and we worked together to really promote this globally. So I'm very, very supportive with them, and now they're very active. Edge and IFC is very active in greening the world. So those are the things that I really advise everyone. If you have a great idea for the people, please continue, because a lot of doubting Thomases can really stop your mind if you listen to them. But you just continue. And right now, I'm still trying to promote this for everyone, but of course, a lot of people would say, "Oh, it's too expensive. It's a lot of headache to learn." Actually, if I'm going to relate this for those listeners, OFWs, who are planning to invest, and I suggest you guys invest for yourself in the future, because when you don't, how these houses are not gonna last the same value. I was selling in 37 years ago one of my house at maybe 60 square meter house, and then 120 meter at only 120,000. Now they're selling at 8 million in Legazpi City. And that's Legazpi City. How much more here in Calabarzon, where many of our projects are around? So
you just answered one of the questions that just came in. They're asking is how much is it now to buy it? Because if you look at it, first I just want to touch on the point that you say about the molds. It's very true. I've had experience of living in a condominium and a house with molds, and it will cause problem in your lungs, especially with the COVID now.
Correct.
Lungs
Yeah.
is very important that you need to protect. And if there's molds in your home, you subject yourself even more with this pandemic. I want to ask, you have a home in Caliraya, and I have a home in Caliraya. And I think that is the place where the Conivate technology could be utilized because, of the humidity in that area that can create more mold. And I think that's another community you may want to expand. Somebody asked here online saying, what is the difference in the cost of hollow blocks versus Conovate? I think one shouldn't look at it just per hollow blocks, but it's building the whole house with many hollow blocks, and then is the benefit on a long term. What's your comment on that, Emma?
You know, when you want to buy something really, really of quality, it's just comparing. I don't know, a car versus a Rolls Royce, right?
Correct.
But you see, the amortization is very, very similar to the hollow blocks. Maybe it's a little bit higher by 10%, but actually our condominium that we're selling with these kinds of Conovate walls in Silang Cavite, they are almost even lower a little bit than the other condominiums in the area. And yet you're buying a condo that already has solar that will give you a lot of savings. So for instance, your amortization, because one condo we have is about 3 million, and your amortization with bank is about say 20,000 per month, which is similar to other developers. However, in that amortization that we have, you are already paying for your solar, and therefore the amount of electricity bill, which is usually for that condo unit, will amount to 207.50 pesos a month. You will be only paying something like 750 because you're still connected to the Meralco or to the utility company. You still pay 750, but the 2,000 you're not paying anymore. So in short, if your amortization is 20,000, your house amortization is only 18. The rest goes to your electricity. So this is what I've been also telling other developers. It's not expensive. What it is that it is already part of the house, and that whether or not the buyer is going to buy the house, when they buy the house, they have to pay for their electricity. So they save. You know how much they save, Rosario? For every monthly bill of electricity they save about 36 or to 38% per month, up to 40% per month. So you buy a house, it's like, getting savings, and the savings that you get from buying the house, from the electricity, you put it in something else, right? You can put it in buying computer for your child, or having more recreation for your family. So this is the way to look at this. And all right, so
That's true. No, I was just telling Miguel that you have a slide showing the major benefits of buying this. You're very correct, Emma. At the end of the day, you don't look at it on a piecemeal, but you look at it on a holistic, on a long vision of what is your savings. You save a lot on that. And on top of it, what you didn't mention is that the maintenance cost becomes lesser because of the infrastructure that you have. It is really matatag, for a long term, that you don't have to spend so much maintenance. The problem in the Philippine housing, I tell you, I'm living here in America. The maintenance of a home in the Philippines is really a lot of money because things break easily. And I think that's how they should look at it. And Miguel, she has a slide about these benefits. these are the benefits that you're talking about, is that the solar energy savings at 37% solar energy savings and 20 times stronger than the hollow blocks, and it will last 100 years. I think they should look at this rather than compare the price of a hollow blocks to a Codove, because they are not comparable. And there's one thing also, you see, I'm SGS, as I told you, we're very much into testing. I've seen your video of how your people tested really that foundation or the panel is really sturdy. Can we show that video, Miguel? I remember there was something there and it amazed me.
Yeah, that's our foreman, and he was testing the wall, and it was so funny because we wanted, and we saw the video, and I said, "Wow, this is great." You see, not even if you do that to a hollow blocks, it's gonna crumble. It's gonna crack. But look at that. That's a hammer stone. That's the thing is doing, and nothing is happening on the wall. We're even going to be testing fire on the wall. Actually, we don't have the video. We're not sharing this with you, but we tested it on acid, and we poured acid on the wall, and then we also poured the acid on the ordinary concrete small block. And what happened was the convert block remained. It's clean. Nothing happened. While this other block, it became porous. What happened is it got a lot of holes. It seemed it melted. And to me, my goodness, because I have very young people in the company, and I think the company is attracting a lot of millennials, because millennials love sustainability, and we're actually, our sales is coming from 78% millennials, and many of the parents are probably supporting them, because we even have 22 years old, 24 years old buying our homes. So the millennials before would only spend their money on gadgets like cars, and they only spend it for their telephones, and now they're buying homes. They feel that this is their future. So the millennials are coming in full force, supporting sustainable projects. And remember, developers, that for all the developers that may be listening to me right now, the market right now, the Philippine market, is really the young people. We have a lot of young people in the country, and so if we don't listen to them, then you're going to be on the tail end.
That's true.
Young people. And so even in my company, they're the ones that are creating the research and development already. And I'm so excited with them, because sometimes they come up with new things, and I just make all their ideas flow. And I said, this company should have that kind of innovative thinking, including for the young. So,
Emma, you have a mind of a young person, because you're very advanced and creative, and that's how it is. A young mind is never afraid. There is the power of persistence that you possess. That's why you click with this young generation even more, because you have the power of persistence, of mind strong and never afraid. I think that's one of your traits for being very successful. Now, Filipinos abroad. Okay, you say a lot of millennials, the young generation, are buying home now in the Philippines. What can you say to the Filipinos abroad? Most Filipinos go abroad, particularly, why? To give money to their family back home, and one day to have their own home. That is the dream of most Filipinos. But they always end up coming home with no home still and money gone. So what's your advice for their investment and their dream to come true?
I think for all the Filipinos listening, especially for the OFW, our hearts are with you. You're working hard for the country. And you remember, our hearts with you are also working for the country. And therefore, women like us who always think of what we can do for you and for the country, our advice is really to save for your future. And there's nothing that is the best savings but a home that is really your future, and the future home is really the sustainable and resilient homes, and you will be advanced. It's like having a gadget of a telephone. By having a solar powered resilient home, it's like you're getting a piece of the future, but it's because that is where everybody's going. It's just that Imperial Homes is ahead of everybody, but currently I think the government is going into that, with a little bit of persuasion from all of us. We're asking the government that they ask or innovate also when it comes to law, that all houses should be equipped with solar, and then with resilient building materials. And I think because of the PropTech consortium, we might be able to influence, the leaders of this country to go into this. Otherwise, you should read the Bill Gates book, Disaster in the end of the century. So if we are going to think of ourselves, think of a house that will last longer, and no repair maintenance, and that will grow in value. So it's not just me who might be doing this in the future, but currently there are only two companies right now that are doing the resilient home. I think a lot of developers are still not adopting the solar. I really hope they do. But many of the women right now, three developers are getting EDGE certification. So I love it when women are taking the lead in doing this. And so invest, because your 3 million now, maybe the 3 million that you pay, which is not, you're not paying it in cash, you're going to Pag-ibig or the bank, is going to be probably, who knows, 40 million in 30 years or 40 years, just like the 120,000 that they bought, now it's about 8 million. So you see the growth. And when you grow older, you can sell that. And if you have the money still, you can buy another one so that you can rent the other one, and then the other one you can keep for you and you can give it to your grandchildren, because these houses can last for your grandchildren. You can give them to your grandchildren. Okay?
I think that is the key line there, is that it is not a home that you buy that tomorrow is gone, but it will reach your grandchildren at sa lahat ng mga apo at apo-apuhan ninyo. So mga kababayan natin sa abroad dyan, buy Imperial Homes because it is really the right home that is for you and for your family. Huwag sayangin ang inipon nyo sa abroad, at ito ay very affordable. Now, you are an unstoppable woman, because I have been reading that the next wave innovation in Philippine real estate, through collaboration, you co-founded the Property Technology Development, PropTech. Kung may fintech, may PropTech. Is this a word that you have coined together with your co-founders? Miguel, there's the PropTech slide on that one.
Well, my co-founder initially was Amor Maclang. I told her about my idea about housing technology, and I said, this is the real housing technology, because the others are, just talking about the key, and it's smart, you put the key or you put this and you put that. No, this one is really solar, is a technology, the building technology of a speed, putting it up from the factory is a technology. And then we thought that, and I was very vocal on this, I have a very fast technology to build houses, but the banks are so slow. The Bureau of Revenue are so slow. The LRA are so slow. The tax people are so slow. I mean, even the LGUs are so slow. How can we integrate and connect all of these agencies and all the banks in order that application is going to be paperless? What the payment of the buyers are going to be through phones. And with this idea, we attracted the other leaders in the industry. So when we created the PropTech consortium, we invited Tito Ortiz Ruiz, who's the chairman of FinTech in the country. And then we had Ron Hose. Ron Hose is the owner of Coin.ph. He's a billionaire now. He started in the country by making the digital wallet for 5 million Filipinos, and now he's all over Asia. And we have Jopin Romero, and we have also Rosemary Ong of the Retailers Association of the Philippines to be able to connect the logistics or the suppliers. I mean, it's going to be a massive effort.
But it's a consortium, as you call it, actually. It is an incredible consortium of both the public and the private sector.
Exactly. And then we have David Almerol of Multiseas, who is going to be the one that will create a hackathon for the PropTech launch in order that we can get a model that we can do for the real estate industry. I mean, all the people are excited with the idea. And I think this is really now my baby. I really want to make it happen because this property consortium, PropTech consortium, can be also a model for the world. You know, the PropTech thing that everybody has in the global market does not really have the property technology solutions. They only have other technology like maybe architectural, structural, all these apps, but nothing in the combination of all the industries. And I cannot do that alone. And that's why when we saw the excitement of the other industry leaders, we were emboldened to really push it. And guess what? We have as our advisor the Secretary of Housing, and then we also have as our advisor the Energy Chair, ERC Chair Agnes de Banadera, who of course is needed for the electricity, of the renewable aspect of all the real estate development in the country. And of course, we have IFC and World Bank who also agreed to be an advisor. So it is a powerful consortium of the leaders that will make the transformation maybe. And within the next 5 years, we hope to really make a big change in this country.
Where do you get all your energy, Emma? This is incredible. When you dream big, you dream huge. It's like, wow, And I think you have the ingredients correct. You have all the stakeholders in the Philippines, both public and the private sector, and you brought in the global influencer in that aspect. You're very right here, Emma. The Philippines has to catch up in the digitization. If we don't catch up in the digitization, it's not only the private sector moving, but also the government, as you said, putting in place the legislation so that then it is not just you championing it, but many developers championing it. And who's the champion? The whole Philippines. So be the model for the world. You are really a great model for the power of grit, a woman who is fearless and fierce. So,
thank you, Rosario.
Well, Emma, a lot of our Filipinos watching are very interested. So we're gonna ask you once again, Filipino, bumili na kayo ng bahay na matatag. At para malaman nyo kung gaano talaga katatag ito, we want them to watch the video. And here's a video Miguel's gonna show us about Imperial Homes Matatag. Hindi lang ang Imperial Homes matatag. Si Emma Imperial matatag. Okay, let's show it, Miguel. Yan ang tatag, Imperial Homes ni Emma Imperial of the Imperial Homes Corporation. Now, Emma, two of my co-hosts, and one of them is the founder, Rolly Pagaspas, is so excited to ask you questions because, you know, he is an influencer and there's so many Filipinos abroad. And Mark, who is a Vietnamese American, may even want to look at this and see how can the Vietnamese country also replicate this, and hopefully America follows. So it's reverse, huh? America following the Philippines. Although, of course, there's a lot of solar homes here already, but your model, your business model is very different. Now, I'd like to bring in Rolly Pagaspas and also Mark Newen.
Hey, Rolly, how are you?
I am fine. Well, thriving during the pandemic, Emma.
Wow.
I'm Mark.
Let's get
Rolly.
started. I know that you, Mark, and Rolly have a question to Emma. You have seen how technologically advanced and sophisticated the homes of the future. And it is affordable. And it's not only affordable, it is solar powered. It is in a long term, a lot of savings, and 100 years sustainable.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be the first one to ask Emma a question.
Sure.
And my question has always been aspirational. I've seen the journey of Emma. I think 5 years ago we met together with his son. And I've seen the success. No? So I think this new endeavor is also about to be a success. And the aspirational question goes like this, because what we have now offered in the market is timely and I think almost complete in terms of elements and ingredients to be a sustainable home and housing program for all the Filipinos. If you have the power to change a factor, mean to say you can delete a hurdle, dream to make it embraceable by a lot of our masses, and it can be made magical to make your project 100% success. What will be the factor that you will be embracing or changing, and why?
I don't want to think it. I don't want to think about it as for me. And as you know, Rolly, everything is really for our country and for other people. And that's how probably I'm getting the blessings of all this innovation. But if I have one wish, I would like to have the ears of all presidents that today or the incoming president on my know-how on sustainability and resiliency and how it will really have a great impact for our Filipinos and for the future generation. So it's like since these are innovation, I'd like to have be able to gain access to their ears and allow the consortium industry or the consortium, the PropTech consortium, to really help and lead the way in changing this country into a, my dream is Philippines as the solar capital of Asia and the world, because it really started from us, the mass housing. So that's my one of my aspirations.
Well, for me, that's an excellent, magnificent answer because, what she dreams of is really a unifying factor, which is not so far from reality because of our Bayanihan spirit. And we really just have to convince each and every of these presidents to come together. And I think it's very realizable. Thank you, Emma.
Okay. All right.
Mark, would you have a burning question you have for Emma?
Yeah, no, I'm very impressed. And congratulations again for your vision for building homes that are not only sustainable, but regenerative. And, even kind of taking, adding more to, environmental conservation and preservation. So congratulations. I guess my main question would be to scale this, are you targeting it to be affordable housing, or are you looking for these projects to appeal to a much wider demographic too? Because, for example, in the States, we're used to bigger homes, so the American mentality is different than, say, in the Philippines or or in Denmark, which is used to having a smaller carbon footprint and so on. But what's your vision sort of to extend this to a broader reach of communities and demographics?
Well, as I said, in Denmark, for the green building solution, they're using it already. They're really using it for high-end buildings. And right now, the solar that we're doing we're now doing it even for our socialized housing. So the real low cost, we're putting it there. And as far as the high end or the mid housing, there's no limitation. It's really for them. I just brought the specification to the lower end of the market, which is the affordable housing market, where the economic housing and the mid housing are there. This is for the working class. So I brought it to the working class. But for the high end, I mean, there's no limitation. You can do big houses, rooftop solar. You can do that. Except that for the innovation that we did for Conovate, we need volume. We have to put up a mobile factory for the developer, and then we now have to put 300 houses a year. So if you do customized, we're not there yet. I would like to make it available to everyone for everyone who wanted to build a homes that's like this. But we're doing some research and development of that, but I think it will not be soon. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, it's very innovative, and to see that these 300 homes are generating megawatts of electricity in addition to being conservation minded as individual units. So that's a fantastic business model.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much.
Wow. Emma, you wow me each time I speak to you. And actually, Emma and I have been friends for quite a long time. And this is the first time I deep dive in what she does. And, because sometimes you take this for granted when you're friends. Oh, you just, hello, hi, how are you doing? And things like that. But seeing you deep dive has made me appreciate you even more of the purity of your intent to help the economy and the wellness. And the likes of Emma is the most even more needed now in order for the economic wellness from pandemic to be able to recover and bounce back. You are truly making history, Emma. It is really Women's History Month.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Maraming salamat, Emma. So, thank you for the time that you've given us. So,
Thank you.
But to all our audience, Mark, Rolly, don't go away because our next guest is
Mark.
Filipino surgeon robotics in the Philippines, which is something to be proud of Women's History Month. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this brief commercial.
We'll be back shortly. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio Worldwide.
Every year, we experience extreme weather conditions and destruction of our natural resources that gravely affect our daily lives. This is climate change. It's time we do something about it and switch to cleaner sources. We are Imperial Homes Corporation, the Philippines' first property technology developer. We build communities that mitigate climate change and where each house reduce 45 tons of CO2 emissions through our Conovate's high-performance concrete panels and solar solutions, which is equivalent to planting 1,700 trees. Imperial Homes Corporation, the company that builds sustainable and resilient homes that last a lifetime.
My name is Susie Casada, president of Ramar Foods International. Ramar Foods' purpose has always been to nourish our community while celebrating our family food legacy. We want you to know that your safety is our top concern. We will continue to take care of our employees to keep them safe so that we can keep helping your family to come together at the table during this difficult time. Let's keep taking care of each other because together and only together will we get through this. Maraming salamat.
Now back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio Worldwide.
Welcome back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. We are so excited bringing to you all our episodes in the celebration of Women's History Month. And this time you have heard of Emma Imperial, who brings us solar homes affordable and last over 100 years. So that is something to be very proud of. It is really women making history. It's Women History Month indeed. And our next guest for today is another woman in the innovative technology and one of the very first in the Philippines. Our guest, her name is Dr. Jennifer Marie Jose. She is recognized by St. Luke's Medical Center as an outstanding physician involved in innovation in treatment and pioneering work in pursuing new frontiers of medicine and pushing the boundaries of standards of care through innovative and pioneering work environment in the management of patients. She is a Trailblazer Awardee given by the Da Vinci Surgical System to Dr. Jennifer Jose. Outstanding achievement of being the first Filipino surgeon in the Philippines to perform over 100 robotic surgeries in 2016. Dr. Jose earned the distinction also of being the first Filipino doctor to make it to the Surgeons Locator list of Intuitive Surgical Inc., the maker of the Da Vinci Surgical System, where she maintains her status up to the present. Being on the list bestows Dr. Jose the honor of being one of the robotic surgeons all over the world recognized by Intuitive Surgical Inc. for their proficiency in robotic surgery. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jennifer Jose, who is the champions of women's care assisted by the robotics technology. Let's bring her in.
Hi, Rosario. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Thanks for having me, and it's really a pleasure to be in this wonderful radio show and honoring women.
Well, you know, this is not just a radio show. We're also in digital. So people are watching you. And this is replicated in various platforms. So you see how things are going on. So how have you been celebrating the Women's History Month?
Well, I'm actually still very busy. I still hold my clinic face to face. I see a lot of women, of course, in the elderly population, and then those in the perimenopausal age group, and they have the concerns regarding their gynecologic problems. So, I'm trying to beat the pandemic, and I don't like to be controlled by COVID. So we just practice all the necessary, health protocols so that we continue life and improve the quality of life of women.
We salute to you being a frontliner and continue your profession in helping all of your patients in the Philippines. And I know in the Philippines, it's not the best situation right now in terms of the pandemic. And we admire doctors and nurses and all the frontliners out there helping out. But you are in robotics and the robotic gynecological surgeon, and of course, many other things that you do using the robotics assisted surgery. Why did you go to OB profession, in this profession, and using robotics?
Okay, because I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist, and I specialize in urogynecology and pelvic reconstructive surgery. And I deal with a lot of suspensions and pelvic surgeries. I really promote minimally invasive surgery because I see the advantage to patients. But you see, in urogynecology, what is actually very difficult is the suspensions and the depth that you really have to work inside the body of the patient. That's why I know very well that with the advent of robotic surgery, it's really nice because it's like your wrist, your hands are like inside the body of the patient, and I am just like beside the blood vessels and nerves. And I'm able to do minimally invasive surgery as if I'm doing it open, and the patients are actually enjoying the advantages of minimally invasive surgery.
That's amazing. But tell us more about, sorry, suddenly I cough. Tell us more about the Da Vinci surgical system. Aside
Okay.
from the Philippines, where it is practiced, where is robotics assisted surgery currently being practiced?
Actually, it's all over the world. There are like 5,000 to 6,000 machines installed all over the world. And in Asia, we have like 700 to 800 machines installed. And in the Philippines, I know we have 3. Mhm. So there you can see that there's so many robotic machines installed all over the world right now. It's gaining a lot of popularity, and we really can see the improvements in the life of patients. It's not only the patients who benefits from this, but also the surgeons. And look at the slide over here. What you can see is that in time the volume of cases actually increases, and if you look here in 2019, there is actually an increase in growth. And if there was no pandemic, look, we are looking at 13 to 16% increase for the month of 2020. But of course, we did not reach that. But it's nice to report to everybody that after 2020, patients are coming now and we're doing more cases again. And what is also good to mention is that with robotic surgery, like I'm a gynecologist, so I do robotic gynecology. But what you can see in the chart over here is that it's not only gyne, we also have urology. And then we also have the other surgeries and other disciplines who are developing already the skills in doing this robotic surgery. So you can see that in time, it has increases in number. Here in the Philippines, even if we are the third world country, you can see that the volume of the patients that we do is actually increasing in time, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we're going to pick up because we really have very good results with our patients. I practice in St. Luke's Medical Center, Global City, and you can see here that majority of the cases that we do are a majority urology and also gynecology. And we have different kinds of uh, procedures being done. In urology, it is actually very good in the sense that it became a standard of care for treating prostate CA. But for gynecology, it's very good because number one, what is the main surgical procedure that we do is hysterectomy, and we do it for benign and also for cancer cases too. But of course, the gyne-oncologists are the ones who do the cancer cases. We have fibroid removal, reconstruction of the uterus. We have the very difficult endometriosis cases. We have prolapse surgery, pelvic floor repairs, sacrocolpopexy, and it's really very good because we don't only look at the surgical outcome, but also the functional outcome and also the effect on patients. Their quality of life is really good. It is
Mhm.
also good to mention that, as a Filipino, I really love my craft. I enjoy doing this. For me, it's like play, and I like to perfect my craft. And because I'm a urogynecologist, like I do a lot of suspensions like sacrocolpopexy, and I was given this privilege to be teaching, to be the first one to be teaching sacrocolpopexy in the Southeast Asia.
Wow.
And I took it like a challenge because it's so difficult to teach a technique to doctors with different language, right? And I just don't teach the gynecologist, but I teach the urologist as well. So yeah, so it's quite difficult, different, but it really challenged me. And it's really good. It's like putting the Philippines in the map, right? That you're able to teach your fellow doctors in Asia about this technique. And it's really good because you don't just teach them, you also learn from them. And then that's the way to propagate the technique of robotic surgery.
Out of interest, Doctora, is Philippines ahead in Asia in the use of the robotics surgery?
In terms of sacrocolpopexy, I could say yes, because we are the first ones who do it in the Southeast Asia. But I think what happens is that the first ones who's doing this are actually the Western world, right? And then in Europe, and then we brought it to the Philippines. But I think it's about the same time with other Asian countries. But I could also say that more or less like we are a bit advanced because like I was called by the company to teach robotic surgery like in Vietnam several times. We've been teaching in Korea, like we're giving talks in what do you call this, in Singapore, and in Malaysia we've been teaching this. So I think more or less, yes, we're a bit advanced, but we're more of the same level.
That's amazing. I want to bring back on the women's care of the use of the robotics. So there are some slides here I'm quite interested in. The procedures using the robotics assisted for women's care, such as on hysterectomy, as most common surgeons women undergo. Miguel, I know there are slides there on the use of on the women's care. Let's see this one. Okay, first of all, is the advantages of the Da Vinci Code. I think it's important to reiterate this, Doctora.
Yeah. Okay. We have a lot of advantages of the Da Vinci robot. Okay. First, it is actually magnified 12 times, stereoscopic, and it has a 3D vision. So it's like me inside the body of the patient, and I am beside the blood vessels and nerves. And it has a robotic wrist. So it's like saying when I do the surgery, it's like doing open surgery. Why? Because it's like putting my hands inside the body of the patient, and I can move my wrist and able to get the different pathology with clear vision and less touching in other organs. So what I'm saying is like, it's like doing open surgery. I don't know if you are familiar with minimally invasive surgery, like when we use laparoscopic techniques.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have like stick instruments. We have to practice counterintuitive movements. What is counterintuitive movements? Let's say you want to address the pathology on the right. You have to train your brain and practice to move your instruments on the right, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with robotic surgery, if you want to go to the right, then you just need to concentrate going to the right. And I think what is good about this too is that the movements are actually scaled, filtered, and translated. So it's actually very precise. Let's say if I have Parkinson's disease and my hands are shaking, do you know that with robotic surgery, you can still operate? Why? Because it doesn't transmit to the patient. It's still going to come out to be very sturdy. And that is actually very good, right?
Still precise, even though the surgeon
Yes.
is already probably of some age, but has a lot of wisdom and experience.
Yes, yes. And because of this, like I've mentioned, because it's 3D vision, the movements are actually precise, and you don't have to be like more of right-handed or left-handed, because you can use your both hands with equal action. And you as a surgeon, you have full control. You are controlling the camera, your vision, your instruments. Remember, after docking after docking the machine to the patient, the surgeon sits in a console table. And what happens is that you as a surgeon, you are controlling the surgery with your hands. You are controlling your camera. And do you know that your feet is also in control? Because you are the one doing the cauterization and also, moving the camera forward and backward. So it's like surgical autonomy. You're doing everything for the patient.
That's amazing. So
Yes.
I'm quite interested on how the robotics will do it for women's care and how much incisions are being done. And I think there's slides here on where are the incisions being done. Miguel, I remember having seen that. You know, I'm quite in. So it's not an open surgery. It is some holes being done in the belly button. Miguel?
Yeah, okay. I hope they can show the slide. But normally, when you have like an open surgery, you can have like a cesarean section scar or a midline scar when you do pelvic surgery. But with robotic surgery, you have an incision in the belly button where the camera passes in, and you have three small incisions. The two small incisions are like 8 millimeters in size, and one, which is the accessory port, is 5 millimeters in size. It's actually so tiny that, after the surgery, the patient is actually very happy because they can still wear two-piece in the beach, right? And they don't scar. And, it's always a challenge to put back the belly button to make it like nothing happened again. So, because of the small incisions, we have a lot of advantages. Like, first, if you have a small incision, the chances of infection is very minimal. The pain is actually less, right? And
Yeah.
and of course, the cosmetic result. And women nowadays, it's not only getting to be vain in the face, but also in the body, right? So of course, who wants to get a lot of scars in the body? Yeah. Right.
I gave birth via cesarean, and when I was about to give birth by cesarean, and the doctor said, "I cannot make you on a bikini style, Rosario, because you are anemic. So I'm afraid to touch some of your veins. So I have like a centipede straight." And you know what I told my doctor? It's okay, doc. Anyway, I am not a bikini model. So I'm. So my question is, can surgery now for cesarean be also using the robotics? Just
No,
suddenly,
we don't do it.
not
Yeah, we
yet.
don't do it for giving birth. Okay, definitely, we still need to do the traditional cesarean section. But just to let you know, let's say if you have big fibroids, okay, you
Mhm.
have like big ovarian cysts, or you have like extensive surgeries and a lot of adhesions inside, you can
Yeah.
actually apply for robotic surgery as long as you are actually evaluated very well. If the surgeon will examine you and see that everything can be done, then I think it's really good to undergo robotic surgery because you're going to heal very fast. And like what I said, it's very clear, and the complications then are actually very minimal.
Wow. Doc, it made me remember when I was young, I had endometriosis. Okay.
Endometriosis,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it got healed because I gave birth, but eventually it goes back. And I was
Yeah,
really contemplating on having laparoscopic surgery
right.
at that time, but suddenly I became pregnant. Now, as a menopause woman, okay, I'm
Okay.
menopause ready, okay? And this is a sensitive question. When you're menopause, you get atrophy. Are there resolutions to that? Or some women would still want to be rejuvenated or repaired
Yeah.
in that area. Can the robotics do the surgery in
Yes.
that aspect as well? Is
Yes,
that
I have to. Yes,
a
I have to
menopause woman like
qualify.
you look forward to?
Yeah, because look, like I'm a pelvic reconstructive surgeon and I'm a urogynecologist. So when we talk about women in the menopausal age group, what are we talking about? We are talking about prolapse. We are talking about incontinence. We are talking about pelvic floor repairs, and definitely we can do it robotically. Okay,
Mm.
so that's why this technique, robotic surgery, is actually very good, even for elderly women, because they what do you call this, they benefit from, there's no pain, they recover very fast, they heal very well, and as if they didn't have like any surgery. But if you're talking about like vaginal rejuvenation, of course this robotic surgery cannot be used for that, because we have different machines like laser to address vaginal rejuvenation in the vagina, address dryness, address mild incontinence, which I also furthered my studies on, because it's so funny. My patients whom I've done minimally invasive surgery, like robotic surgery, they're so happy with their scars, right? But majority of them, after the surgery, they ask me, "Can you make me pretty down there?"
Si
That's
Michelle
already
nalito na.
yeah.
I
So
like it. Can you make me pretty down there again?
yes. So, after hearing this from, let's say, 8 to 10 patients, and I said, why not study further? Anyway, I'm a pelvic reconstructive surgeon, so that's what I did. So I tried to look at these patients holistically, and, I really advocate non invasive surgeries, because I see the results on patients, and I know I can offer this to patients. That's why I also studied and I practice aesthetic gynecology as well.
Wow. So, Doc, being honest with all our audience out there, for people of my age group, for example, who's already menopause, it is a fact. We get atrophy, we get dryness, and suddenly even you feel that there is like burning feeling into it, where in fact
Yes,
you're just dry because you don't have any more the estrogen or
right.
all of that thing. So you're telling me that you could do this rejuvenated, and one will feel pretty again there and feel
Yes,
young again without
right.
any hormone therapy.
Yes, that's what we do, because like in my practice right now, I use CO2 lasers, erbium YAG lasers, and radio frequency to rejuvenate the vagina. And when you say rejuvenate the vagina, we're actually improving the collagen and elastin fibers in the vagina, improving the blood supply, increases the lubrication, decreases the pH again, so that you are not prone to a lot of infection, and you put back the acidity in the vagina. And then at the same time, what are the possible consequences? Number one, you are not prone to a lot of recurrent UTI and urinary incontinence. So yes, we can actually offer this treatment without hormones to women now. Mhm.
Yeah, because for me, for example, I cannot have hormone therapy because I'm very polycystic. So I'm very afraid of taking a lot of medications that may counter and be non beneficial for me anymore, just
Right.
for vanity or anything. But your solution is something that I must consider on that aspect, though. That's incredible. There is something that I wanted to ask you as well on so just for our audience, you can restore your vibrance again. You see, Dr. Jennifer Marie Jose is really making history for and giving hope. And I guess one time you told me that sometimes this has saved marriages.
Yes, actually, I started aesthetic gynecology since 2016, July of 2016. And I'm surprised, and I'm very humbled to say that but at the same time, I'm proud to say that I have helped 36 marriages. I didn't know that this will really, it's really a big issue among couples, but it is. It is actually a big factor. And, it's nice to help and, keep couples together, right? And it's nice that you're able to help them in their intimacy. Like when I talk to my patients, I really give time for them to really tell me and tell me everything, so that I could assist them. And openly they open up about these things. So I have all these things to offer too, right? Hmm.
Wow. Doctor, or somebody has just messaged here. Outstanding choice to feature Dr. Jennifer Jose as one of your speaker. Very useful. Thank you, Elizabeth Kadian. And somebody just messaged me here also saying, Da Vinci Robotics is a wonder gifted by God to our medical spectrum. That's from Agnes. And there's another one. It says, Jennifer Marie Jose, what a blessed name. We are so proud of you. Well,
Thank
there
you.
you go. And Walter Luna is watching, whichever country is coming from. But I like that men are also watching. So for your future
Yeah.
partner, or if you have partner, rejuvenation is key. But it's not only that, because women's care is a lot of issue. You see, I had endometriosis. I almost had hysterectomy, but it was aborted for some reason. But there are cases. Are this something the robotic surgery, robotics assisted surgery, can this also save patients, cancer patients? What are the benefits of this for the cancer patients?
Okay, for the cancer patient, usually for uterine cancer, endometrial cancer, it can actually be offered to the patients, right? But I strongly advise that it has to be a gyne-oncologist to do the procedure, okay? And also for cancer of the cervix, if it's in the early stage, like stage 1, B1, then it can still be offered. Why? Because it is not only for the advantages of like number one, like the blood loss is less, the complications are less, but the disease-free survival is actually good. So what I'm saying is, we can offer this to patients, improve the quality of life. Now, because we have robotic surgery, we are not limited to offer minimally invasive surgery. Let's say the patient is old, if the patient has age, or the patient is obese. This is actually a very good what do you call it, option to offer to patients, because remember, you do not need to cut big with a patient. Remember, whenever you enter the abdomen, you start from the skin, then you go and enter the fat, and then the muscle, and then the fascia, and then you go and enter the peritoneum before you get into your target organ. But with small incisions, and you're able to remove big pathology, even if the patient is so heavy. I mean, it is really a big factor that we can offer this to our patients, right? So for cervical cancer patients, yes. For endometrial cancer patients, yes. But you have to be very assessed. You have to be assessed by the gyne-oncologist to do this procedure, because we have very good outcomes in terms of dissections of the lymph nodes, and the disease-free survival is better. So, not all cancer patients have to be opened up. We can still help them and improve their quality of life. And I think that is the best that we can offer right now.
You've said it really succinctly, Doctora, because with the robotics, it is always on an open surgery. It is high risk for people of a certain age, obese,
Right.
and others. But now it is not as high risk
Yes.
using the robotics. So giving you a higher chance of survival and really healing much faster. Kasi yung iba dyan, Doktora, matanda na pag inoperahan pa, lalong nag-deteriorate ang buhay kasi
Yes.
the ability of the body to heal is no longer there.
Right.
You know?
I'd like to share with you like the patients that I've done who had surgery, and they're in the elderly population, right? Normally, my protocol is I give 5 tablets as painkillers once a day for 5 days. I give a COX inhibitor. Would you believe after 5 days after discharge, they come and see me. They drive their car to the clinic. And when I ask them about pain, they say, I did not take it because I did not feel any pain. And they're up and about. They clean their house. One made their dress for her to come and see me. She made her own dress. And, and I asked them, are you sure? And then they show me the tablets that I prescribed. They did not take it. So it's like saying that, they're really up and about. I did a case 2 weeks ago, and she's a lawyer. Would you believe it? 12 hours after the operation, she was seated and having a Zoom meeting with her staff. 16 hours post-op, she was pushing me to discharge her because she's up and about. She voided already. She feels well. And you know what? She was very successful because I was able to send her home 18 hours after surgery. But of course, I told her, you have to give time for your tissues to heal, right? You have like small incisions in your abdomen, but I did a big work inside your body. Actually, that's my problem after my cases, because I need to convince them that I did a big surgery inside and they have to heal first. Because normally it will take 4 to 6 weeks. for
Mhm.
them to recover if they have the standard kind of surgery. But with this kind of surgery, look, in 16 hours, they're up and about, so they can recover really fast. So if we're going to look at the productivity of these patients, we are not actually compromising their productivity because they heal fast and they can go back to work right away. And remember, at this point in the pandemic, we don't want to stay longer in the hospital, right? We want to
Exactly.
recover fast. So after the surgery, once they're okay, then they can go home. Yes.
Wow. A lot of benefits. It's not only benefits for the doctors to be doing it despite of their age. It's a lot of benefits for the patients as well. So the
Right.
welfare of both the patients and the doctor are well looked after. It's a very win-win situation and lengthens the life of people.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Right.
Doc, I've got two men of my co-anchors, and they've been texting me and dying to ask you questions as to whether is there anything to be done for men as well using the robotic surgery. So I'd like to bring in my two
Okay,
co-hosts,
sure.
which is Rolly Pagaspas and Officer Mark Newman.
Okay. Hi, Rolly again.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Dr. Jennifer.
I'm so excited from what you hear here, Rolly and Mark.
Hi.
I believe a lot of marriages, women feel pretty again, and I'm sure men want to ask, is it something for men as well? We've got the same organs and issues in our body, and I hear you do also on the prostrate cases, Dr.
Yeah.
Jenny.
Yeah. Actually, now for urology, okay, for prostate cancer, it is already the standard of care. Imagine that's why we have a lot of robotic um, prostate surgery in St. Luke's Global. Because when you do robotic surgery for these patients, usually when you have like a prostate surgery for cancer, what happens is that they become incontinent after because the nerves are affected, right? But because of this minimally invasive surgery and it's very precise, the patients do not get that. And you are able to get the prostate in total. And it's really good. And a lot of our patients who have these problems are actually getting the uh, kind of surgery from the urologist already. Mhm.
Rolly, you want to be subjected to robotics?
Wait, I have a question to her, no?
Of
Well, I
course.
always believe that in marriages, it's always a mandatory to delight your partner. And definitely an element of surprise will do that, no? But my question to her is about her profession. I see the promise of this robotic surgery because I think the exactness, less trauma, etc., all the advantages will always be the benefit to a patient. The only
Right.
hurdle block that I see is the issue on ethics. So, how do you see about this, doctor? About the ethics of
Ethics.
this robotics? Yeah, the ethics because we can mention sensitive tasks that I mean. If the surgery will be a failure, then everything can now be said that it's a failure of the robotic, not of the doctor. And then
Okay.
secondly, humans, yeah, the humans will no longer take responsibility for their failure. Then second, the AI can erode our freedom. I mean to say, no, because intelligence thing and it can be used in several unethical ways. I would like to hear your point on this about the ethics
Yes.
mentioned
Well, number
using
one,
robotics.
okay, I don't think that there is any ethical issue on this. Why? Because remember, the Da Vinci robot, is only a surgical armamentarium. It's like a surgical
Mhm.
tool of the doctor. It's not the robot operating on you. Like what I said, after I dock the robot to the patient, I sit in the console table and I control. I am still the one operating. You see, so the responsibility is still in the doctor. That's why we have to have like double training on this. We have to be very good in minimally invasive surgery, and at the same time, before we do robotic surgery, we also have to study the robot. Like in my case, I had to fly several times, like 9 times in 1 year, to the US to have all my training before I'm
Yeah.
able to use the robot very well.
I have
Yeah.
asked Miguel to show us the slide where it was showing you, Dr. Jose, you were
Yeah.
in the monitor for
Right.
the robotics. I think this is important to show to our
Mhm.
audience here and to all my co-hosts.
Yeah.
Miguel, were you able to see that where Doctora is into
Yes.
that one?
Okay. So just
Oh,
to show you here, okay, after the patient is given anesthesia and we put our ports already in the abdomen, what we do is we dock the robot. We bring the robot to the patient and we dock it to the robot. Once it is docked, okay, then me as the surgeon will sit in the console table and then I do the operation. So there is no
mm,
ethical issue on this because it's only our surgical tool. And it's very good because it's not only the patient who benefits, but also the surgeons as well, right?
okay. Yeah, I won't prolong the question because I like your answer, but there's some other areas, but I'd like to give a chance to Mike now to ask the question.
Okay.
Dr. Jose, thanks for sharing it. It's fascinating, this technology and how it's it's more precise, less invasive, and can impact so many people. Um,
Mhm.
how widely available is this? Because you said you went to the U.S. to train multiple
Right.
times, and that you're trying to share this technology and knowledge in the region. Is
Uh-huh.
this a very expensive machine that's limited to a very few people like yourself who is trained in it, or do you think this could be extended on a wider basis to? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would need this. Um,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Actually, like in St. Luke's Global City, we have this robot for 10 years now. Okay. So we're doing a lot already. And it's good to share with you that there are two other hospitals in the country who has it too. And one is a government hospital.
oh, great.
So what does that mean? Eventually the prices will go down, okay? And then eventually we can offer it to more Filipinos, right? And they will also benefit from the advantages of the robotic surgery. So hopefully in time, this is the way I see it. With all technologies, everything will start expensive as we begin, right? And then eventually, as we adapt and learn, and then everybody has to evolve. Like now, it's pandemic, we have no choice, and we have to take it as an opportunity for us to have this drastic change to evolve. I think improvement in robotics is one of the best technology that we can offer because our objective eventually is really improvement in the quality of life of patients. Mhm.
Sure. Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing.
Mhm. Yeah.
I just want to ask Doctora, with technology, they change very fast.
Yes.
Um, are the robotics changing too fast that you need to invest in new machines
Right.
necessarily, or the new machine is quite as good? The current machine is quite as good as the upcoming one.
Well, the machine right now that we have, it's an XI, is actually very good to do all the surgeries that we want. But of course, with technology, in time, there is always improvement, right? Like the new machines now, would you believe that they have different arms? So therefore, you don't have to keep on rotating the machine for oncologic procedures. Remember, when we do onco procedures, we have to get the different lymph nodes, we have to remove the apron of fat in the abdomen to get a good sample. So now we have machines that can actually facilitate the doctors to do the procedure with ease. And just to let you know, we also have robotic machines, but it's not in the country yet. That is for you only have one incision in the abdomen, like just a single port incision in the belly button, and it's still robotics. But of course, it's a different movement again for doctors in the sense that we need to relearn. We have different techniques in performing the procedure. But yes, what I'm saying is yes, there are a lot of innovations and changes, but the old one is still as good. Mhm.
Rolly, do you have more questions? I have so many burning subjects.
Well, I think if I will ask a question, it will necessitate another episode because I would like to dwell on the social aspect of this.
Okay.
But I'm pretty satisfied with the way Doctora is answering, and I'm amazed and delighted.
Thank
Well,
you.
you've made me curious, Rolly. What is the social aspect of this after you've asked about the
Because I see that this robotics thing ought to be social in nature later on. I mean to say, there's robotic sex, no?
Well, for one, I know the robotics will improve my sex life. So
That's what I meant. So it will be a prolonged discussion.
I,
Yes.
this is such an interesting subject because I remember Dr. Jenny was a speaker in our Filipino Women's Network in Canada. And all the ladies were eyes wide open and ears wide open.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my gosh.
Because they want to be beautiful down there.
Well, patients are the one asking for it. Why not, right?
Yeah.
There is Ensler stage play, or what we call the vagina monologue, which is the dialogue.
Yeah.
If there is a vagina monologue, is there a P monologue? That's another question, in fairness and inclusivity. But I have one question, Doc, because this one is serious again. Okay.
Okay.
But everything is serious anyway. But the other question is that you said that you are doing lessons on the robotic sacrocolpopexy
Yes.
that you teach in Asia. I'm sorry, pero ano po yun in layman's term? What is sacro?
What is robotic sacrocolpopexy? Okay. It is actually when you have like a prolapse, in Tagalog, it's called bua. Are you familiar with that? When
Yeah, we're familiar.
yeah, like there's like something is hanging down. I've seen like watermelon in between the legs of these older women, or like oranges. They're so huge, right? So when you do, let's say, a vaginal hysterectomy, okay, and you remove it, you want to maintain the vaginal vault. Of course, we suspend. But you see, when we do prolapse surgery, if you're going to look at the literature, there is a chance of 11% that there will be recurrence. So with this kind of surgery, it's called sacrocolpopexy. Colpa is the vagina. Sacro is the sacrum. You are actually going to attach the vagina to the sacrum using a mesh. Okay. And this is actually very challenging when we do minimally invasive surgery, because you need to do a lot of dissections and also suturing, right? You suture with the vagina vault, and then you have to suture to the ligament in your sacrum or your bone. So because of this, robotics is actually very good because it can facilitate and make it easier for the surgeon to perform this. So it's like pulling it up. And then, the sacrocolpopexy is actually the gold standard for vault prolapses when it comes down again. In Canada, they have what we call blue plate. What is a blue plate? Whenever they do this vaginal hysterectomy, there is a hospital in Mississauga wherein they do the lifting of the vagina up to from the vault to the sacrum right away, so that they don't develop prolapse in the future. But then we don't do that here in the Philippines, right? Because if we do the proper suspension and then they take care, then probably it's not going to happen. Because when you have prolapse, sometimes it depends on your genes. It depends on your workload. There's so many factors that can influence you to develop another prolapse again.
So
Well, I can relate, no? Because my great grandmother had a boa, so she was too old already during that time, and
Right.
but it happened before she died, and so we were all amazed. What is that?
So just for my imagination is that when you have a hysterectomy, it leaves a void, and so therefore some of your parts inside goes down because there's a void.
Yeah.
So you're trying to reattach it.
Now, actually,
making
what
sure it's-
happens when you have a hysterectomy, that area, all the bowels will fall in that area. But remember, if you remove the cervix, you have the vagina. It's not attached to the ligament of the cervix already, right? The uterosacral cardinal ligament is gone. So what I'm saying, it's going to drop.
Yeah,
And
that's what I mean. There's a void and it's gonna drop. It's not
gonna
attached to anything else.
Right.
I
So
see.
what we do is we suspend from the inside by attaching a mesh. And then we bring it up and we attach it to the bone. This is actually a very complicated procedure for the reason that when we suspend, we actually are beside the big vessels. You know, we have the aorta and also the inferior vena cava. I'm quite on the medical terms. I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to explain it the easy way. But it's very difficult to do this. Actually, when I put my suture in, I don't breathe because I don't have any room for mistake when I put my suture in. I cannot, puncture the aorta and the inferior vena cava. Yeah. Mhm.
I cannot but imagine that really when you grow old, the face loosen up. So it's just like putting a mesh and pulling it up. So it's similar. Because the latest thing now for women is they put a mesh threading inside the face
Threading.
and pull it up.
Yeah.
So it's similar
Ah.
inside.
Yeah.
Wow. My God, this topic is making me like, whoa.
But
We
you
have
know what, Mario? I also do that vagina. Seriously.
you do what?
Prevent prolapses too. Like the threading that you're saying in the face. Remember, your vagina is your second face, right?
I know.
So because of that, we can also repair it and lift. Remember, we need to lift. So I also do that.
Oh my God!
The real meaning of women lifting women.
Right. Mhm.
We can only smile big.
This is an amazing subject, from solar homes into being solarly beautiful and shining like the sun.
But both are embracing landscaping. One is the land, and the other one is a personal land.
I also do landscaping.
Oh my God! We can stop discussing.
Yeah.
Mark, is there any other wilder imagination that you think this is applicable to in terms of men? Huh? Well,
For men, it's quite difficult because I think there's several already failed cases for men.
wow,
Quite difficult.
I'd like to prolong our show because this is such an exciting subject. But I think we can have again Dr. Jennifer Marie Jose in another episode on a very deep dive on something else, Ooh la
I'll
la.
be glad to share.
Yeah, sure.
So you see, really, it is really Women's History Month. Women making history, the first in many things, in prolonging life, in making life more. How do you call that? Life worth living. Something else. The wellness.
Yeah, wellness.
The wellness of people.
Right.
Women is always ahead of that. So I like to ask my men co-hosts in here, how do you celebrate Women History Month?
I think it's like what we're doing now, just sharing the innovations of like Dr. Jose and Emma and all the amazing work that's being done for communities, for people personally, for women directly with the technologies you shared with us. So yeah, it's there's so much to share and celebrate. So so thank you for being so innovative in your approach.
Rolly, what's your take?
For me, I always believe in delighting my partner. So in delighting her, I give her a surprise, and we end up in a discussion highlighting her value to humanity, to the family, and of course to me.
Oh, amazing. I would not like to end the show without giving the other credentials of Dr. Jenny Jose. Well, I don't have to read the credential. You hear from what she says. She is really the authority on the subject, on the robotics. But I'd like to just mention some of this. As I mentioned, Dr. Jose earned the distinction of being the first Filipino doctor to make it to the Surgeons Locator list of Intuitive Surgical Incorporated, the maker of the Da Vinci surgical system, where she maintains her status up to the present. Being on the list bestows Dr. Jose the honor of being one of the robotic surgeons all over the world, recognized by Intuitive Surgical Inc. for their proficiency in robotics surgery. She performs robotics-assisted hysterectomy, myomectomy, cystectomy, adhesiolysis, and urogynecology procedures such as the sacrocolpopexy for suspensions and incontinence procedures. In Southeast Asia, Dr. Jose is the first doctor recognized who performed robotics. Mabubulol na naman ako rito. Sacrocolpopexy, and has taught the procedure to surgeons in Asia. She was selected to receive the 100 Most Influential Filipino Woman in the World Award, FWN, in 2017 in Canada. She had numerous presentations, both national and international meetings for urogynecology and robotic gynecologic surgery and minimally and very invasive surgery. She is an international proctor of Intuitive Surgical, the maker of Da Vinci surgery, and overall chair and course director on Advanced Gynecology Masterclass, learning skills and techniques that will expand your current indications for robotic surgeries at St. Luke's Medical Center in Global City. You are history, a woman month history, really, Women's History Month.
Congratulations.
Salute. Dr. Jenny, what is your message to our audience as we conclude the show today?
Okay, my message is, well, we have to adapt and, embrace changes right now because it's pandemic, right? I think because of the advances in technology, we have to embrace it and we have to open our eyes because eventually you will see the advantage of it. I know cost is an issue right now, but eventually, like what I said, it's already in the government hospital too. And hopefully, if we use the robotic surgery more in our country, then we can offer it more to more Filipinos and we will all have a better quality of life. I think that is the main thing that we have to emphasize now is really attain a very good quality of life because, look what has happened to us during this pandemic. I really hope this ends. But if not, we have to continue living, right? And we have to enjoy life. That's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. As we close the event today, I feel so proud to be a woman. I feel so proud to be having you here. And I'm so proud with my two co-hosts who supports women in history, making history all the time. I'd like to ask my co-host, Mark Nguyen, what is your message to our audience today before we end?
Again, just so honored to be in your company and to learn. There's so much we can learn from women like yourself, given the innovations that you pursued, the learning, the knowledge, and the direct impact that you made, and I'm sure in many people's lives as part of your knowledge and research. So thank you. So I guess that's my message. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Lee?
Okay, so women really is the light of things, light of the family, and light of so many things. And definitely without light, the roadmap journey of men will be bleak. So to all men out there, continue providing value to the light of our lives and hope that you have find the right light in your life.
Thank you very much. Really, that's very true. We thank the men for supporting women because we also wouldn't be here without you, and you wouldn't be here without us. So we're both indeed.
Coexistence.
Exactly, coexistency. So I just like to tell all our guests, maraming salamat for watching us. Please watch us again next week as the last episode for Women's History Month celebration. Our Women's History Month celebration next week, this time is very different. if we had in the first 4 weeks of the month of March of the Z generation, the future is Z, and we had Filipina thriving around the world, and we had the women in the boardroom, which is being promulgated in order to contribute to the economy wellness and be measured, be equally treated like anybody in contribution to the economic wellness. And today we had women in innovative technology, women in power, women making history. But next week, Mark and Rolly and Dr. Jenny, next week, our celebration of women is very close to my heart this time. This is the spectrum of gender celebrating Women's History Month. It is not just because we are women that we celebrate Women's History Month. It is not just because men are supporting us, but there are a spectrum of gender that celebrates women in their lives. So, maraming salamat to all of you. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA edition. Our intent is always to give back to our country and countrymen. Women making history is giving back to their country and countrymen. So I'd like all my guests to wave goodbye. Maraming salamat po. See you next week.
The program that puts together industry and business leaders, their organization, company, and brands in an optimal showcase of information for business impact and exchange. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, the scalable business exchange program and platform. Hosted by global business leader Rosario Kauhukum Bradbury, live in Southern California, together with the founding anchor, business and transformation mentor Rolly Pagaspas, live in the Philippines. Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. California time or Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Philippine time. Live in all digital platforms of V81 Radio. Available everywhere. Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio worldwide. Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy, mga kanta at programang Tatak Pinoy. Napapanood at napapakinggan kahit saan ka man. Streaming worldwide. In Los Angeles, California, this is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin.